we'll discuss 4 building blocks of Voiceflow. Essentially, this is everything that you will use for the most part. Prompt engineering, how you actually engineer the prompts inside your chatbots. Everything regarding the knowledge base, how to structure it, what softwares to use to extract information from your main resources like documents and websites. Developer tools, this is, the things that you would need to build more complex things. Humanizing part is how to make your agent more human. APIs, how to access your agent externally from other softwares and places. And then we'll probably build something from scratch so that you can see everything in action. This is an extensive guide to building advanced chatbots and text-based agents on a platform called Voiceflow. This is not a video where I will read the script and show you all the functions of the software, but rather a practical guide from someone who built and sold hundreds of these solutions. After watching, you will be able to build higher tier chatbots that you can actually charge money for. First, let's talk briefly why Voiceflow. On the market, I think we have 3 main options. The first is Voiceflow, the second is BotPress, and the third is all other tools. I think that the Voiceflow is the best just because of the support and the community. Obviously, they introduce a lot of new features. I think they have the most extensive API options on the market. BotPress might have a bit more out-of-the-box integrations, but after Voiceflow introduced their functions, I think it's almost equally good. But the problem with BotPress is that the support is just not there. I think Voiceflow is one of the best on the market in terms of the team support, adding features, talking to the community. I'm very active there. I'm very active inside their Discord. I talk to the team, and I just know that if you have a question, you would probably be able to solve it right away within 1 or 2 days of being inside the Discord or being inside other communities around building AI agents. That's why I think you should just go with Voiceflow, even if I'm not actively using BotPress. Maybe they add also new features and things, even if BotPress would have some more out-of-the-box features, just because you can build literally anything regarding text-based agents on Voiceflow. There's might be a bit bigger learning curve, but this is again not a problem because of the support in the community around it. We have other tools. These are either very niche out of the box tools where you just plug your website, do a few instructions, and based on the niche solution, it will actually create the chatbot around it. For example, you can think about it as a Shopify app. If we are talking about e-commerce bots, this is out-of-the-box solutions that dynamically connect to your Shopify account and can retrieve information from it. Obviously, you can use Voiceflow to build these apps, and you can build much more complex solutions on Voiceflow, even for the Shopify WooCommerce on Magneta platforms. But out-of-the-box solutions are just easier to implement. Or other softwares are just simpler. These are just apps that have a slightly different functionality, but they are easier to use for the beginners. If you want my opinion, I started with Voiceflow. I will probably continue to build everything related to text-based agents on Voiceflow just because you can build everything. It might seem a bit complicated, but from what you see right now, this video will take maybe an hour or 2 hours. You'll be able to know everything that you need to build all the agents that you were ever wanted and dreaming for. Let's start from the core building blocks. Once you will land to Voiceflow, this is the page that you'll see. As you can see, I have too many agents, and this is the test account. So you'll create a new agent, you'll follow, I have the limit, you'll follow the instructions and all these things. So once you land into the actual dashboard where you can create and manage the agents, there are a lot of kind of different tabs that you can do. We'll go over them later, but this is the main tab. So this is the workflows. You can click on one workflow and you will actually go into it. I created a template where I will show you a few different examples of how you can build certain things. Listen till the end. In the middle of the video, I will explain how you can get access to this template as well as to some of the support from my side and my team. Once you are in the canvas, this is called canvas, you can drag and drop different blocks and start building your flow. You can obviously create multiple workflows for different scenarios inside your agent. I like to keep everything into one workflow. It's just me. First, they have a great canvas, which is pretty robust. Even if you have dozens of different blocks and scenarios, it works great. Some people like to divide into like by triggers, by maybe components. They like to like spread out their bot into multiple folders. This is not what we usually do. Obviously, it really depends on the complexity, but I like to keep visual representation of the whole flow of the whole agent on one canvas. Let's start going one by one so that you can see how everything works. Let's actually start with the message block. Message is just a static message that you can display to the user, and you can say, "Hi, how are you?" Once you display this block to the user, the flow will be ended because we are not waiting for the user reply. In order to wait for the reply, you need to create a capture step. So capture will essentially capture the information from the user. And here you have two types of capturing that you can do. You can either capture entities or you can capture the entire user reply. I will explain how to actually capture entities and why would you do that when we talk about the intent classification, right? So here, but for right now, let's just say that we are capturing the entire user reply. So if we test this thing out, this is the start. This is the start step. So you can drag it on top and say, okay, no, this is the developer tool. So let's drag it on top of everything, and this is the block that we have just created. We'll put it there and we'll click start. You can actually start it from this, so that it will actually do the same thing as the user would click on the start button, or you can start directly from this block. So it will display as "Hi, how are you?" and we'll wait for the reply. If it's not there, you'll see that it's essentially will send us a message and then the conversation has been ended because we were not waiting for the message from the user. But once we do wait and the user will reply something to us, this message will be saved in last utterance variable. I hope I don't need to display what the variables actually are to you. This is not like a super basic video. So, and this is kind of a very basic look. Here we can display the variable where the last user utterance was captured. So if you go here and you say "Hi, this," it will display as "Hi, this," and then we'll wait for the reply. We will say 3, obviously it goes here, it will capture. Okay, so yeah, as you can see, we put the capture block, but we're capturing entities. We're not capturing the entire user reply. So now if we say 3, it will capture and display as 3. If we say this, it will capture this and display this. It's actually, oh no, sorry, yeah, it's like it's displaying us this, and then if we say this, okay, yeah, so it's looping us inside. I think it's pretty straightforward. Now, instead of just displaying the static blocks, we can display the dynamic responses from the AI, and this is where response AI step comes in handy. If you connect it here, remember we saved everything into the last utterance variable. We can say this, or like answer the user question, and here is the actual question. So last utterance, we're referencing the variable. We can do the prompt settings. For example, we can choose any of the models. These are the models again from either like Anthropic or the OpenAI or the Google Gemini. You can buy tokens directly inside the Voiceflow, so you don't need to connect your API keys, and that's why it's really good. I think it's very competitive pricing, so you don't need to worry about it. So let's say it's 4.0, we can crack down the temperature and we can crack up the max token usage. We can say reply like a human in the system message. That's it. Now we're not capturing the reply again, so we would do the capture reply. We'll provide it as the entire user reply and loop it inside here. So now, actually, we don't need to loop it inside here because after the user replied, it will say again, hi, how are you? So we can separate it like that. We can delete the connector. So after we display the reply to the user, we'll connect it here. So we'll wait for the user reply. And once the user replies, it will go back to the actual answer through the AI step. So now I am good. How are you? So this utterance will be sent to for O model. It will reply and wait for our response. We can say, yeah, I am great. That's awesome. And now it's looping us inside. I want you to understand a very basic concept of last utterances and also last responses. Utterance is what user said, but response, it's how Voiceflow classifies it. Response is the last response from the bot. So if we, for example, here say last response, as you can see here, let's see what we'll get. Hi, how are you? Okay, so hi again. I'm glad. So it's actually, as you can see here, it's I'm doing great too. Thanks for asking. How can I assist you today? So this is providing us both the utterance from the user as well as the response that the bot just did. So in order to see it a bit clearly, oh, okay, so no, I'm sorry, it's the answer the user utterance. So we're not displaying the last user utterance. So we can display directly here. So we can say last utterance, and then we can also display the response. Again, this is like very, very basic concept, but I just want you to understand it so that it's just like easier for you to go over than the complex things that I'm going to explain next. So we are asking, hi, how are you? We're capturing the user response. Then we're asking AI to generate the response and display to the user. Then we will just, for the sake of the illustration, we will display the last utterance that the user just did and the last response that the bot was just generated. And then we will actually capture the user reply and then we'll go back. So it doesn't make sense. This is not something that you would do in the real life scenario. So I am good, you. So here it will generate the response. It will then say, I'm good, you. This is the utterance that I said. And then this is again the thing that the bot generated on this step. Awesome. Do you know the weather? Something like that. So now it will say here, awesome, and it will repeat this thing. Okay, so I think it's pretty clear. Last utterance and last response are different things. Response is from the bot, utterance is from the AI. Now, there is another set AI step. So this is another AI step, but it's a bit different. So instead of displaying the answer to the user, we can save the answer into one specific variable and then manipulate it, or we can display it to the user. Now, let's see how it works. So instead of saying answer the user here, we can do the same thing. We have the same prompt settings. We can do the for all modal, whatever. So we can do the temperature, answer. So we can do anything that we would want. But instead of displaying, we'll go here, we'll delete this module. So now we ask the question, it will generate the response, but instead of sending it straight into the chat, we will save it into the response variable, right? And then we can actually display this variable to the user response. So it will look from the actual overview to the user, it will look exactly as before, but you have just more functions to manipulate the variable later. So here's how it's gonna look. We'll say I am good, you. So here it will generate the response, right? As you can see, it looks same. There are some things here. This is where the actual debug mode. So if you remove the debug mode, you will see the chat as the user would. But the debug mode can give you some ideas on how many tokens has been used and what information has been captured in the variable. So here we saved the response from the AI into the response variable, and then we displayed this variable to the user, and it's like, awesome. It will just loop us inside. I think it's pretty clear. Now, why would we do that? We would do that so that instead of displaying this variable to the user, we can do maybe some sort of a qualification of this response so that we can make sure that this is the actual response that we want to provide to the user. Now, and this is where the next block comes in the logic folder. So there is a condition. For example, here you have obviously, so either the prompt logic, business logic. So the prompt logic functions very similarly to the actual prompting, but there are a few modifications. Voiceflow always adding new features. The fact that I like about Voiceflow is that once they add something, they do not remove it right away usually, so that it's more smoother. It's like a smooth upgrade, and the people who keep using the old version can be actually, will have the time to implement the new thing. And this is what happened with the response. Right now, their main module is kind of the prompt block. And I'll explain how it works, but it's very similar to the response AI. So I think in future, they will remove the response AI. But for right now, it's there. That's why I am actually recording this thing. So similar thing with the actual prompt, because it can dynamically evaluate the path that we want the conversation to go. But for right now, again, let's try to keep it very simple. So we'll set the business logic and we'll create the path. We can do the expression. If you're a developer, you'll understand what it means. But again, we can just keep it simple and do the condition step. So if our response variable that was generated here, right? So if you remember, we asked AI to generate the response and we save the response into the variable. We can say, hey, if this variable, and we can do whatever. So let's say if this variable starts with letter A, I'm not sure how you would actually use it in the real life, but we would use it when we identify intents of the user here, but we'll go there. For right now, I just want you to understand the basics. So we can do the condition, and we can say, okay, so if this response start with letter A, then go here. For example, go and send it message 1. If it's not, if it's starts with something else, send it message 2. Okay, it's pretty straightforward. Same thing you can do. Okay, so if the response is 1, so if we asked AI to output a specific thing, because it's very hard to do, and this is where the actual prompting comes in. If you're saying, hey, if this response is 1, go into 1. Or you can add the logic and say, okay, if the response is 2, go to 2. If it's else, go to else. It's pretty straightforward. But the problem is that since this is the reply that is dynamically generated by the AI, it will have a hard time to displaying only 1, 2, or nothing. it cannot display nothing or like 0, for example. This is where you need to prompt it to say, hey, I want you to display 1, 2, or 3. And I will explain why you actually will probably use this thing a lot, but we're going from the basics. This is how you would use the condition block. And this is why sometimes instead of displaying the answer directly to the user, you might save the answer into the response variable and then do something with the answer. What you can do, you can go even further. So what you can do is, let's say you want to make sure that the reply will be just 4 words. Let's say you are generating the response, right? Here, you're saving the response in the response variable. But before displaying it to the user, you want to make sure that this response aligned with your brand, or in our case is 4 words max, or let's do 6. So what we can do is we can do another. So let's like remove this connector so that it's easier to see. So what we can do is we can actually set another variable, and here we'll say analyze if the response below is or less than 6 words. If it is less than 6 words, or if it is or less than 6 words, so output, for example, 1. If it is more, output 2. And you can say, hey Eugene, why are we doing that? Because obviously we can prompt AI here to say respond with only 6 words, or like 6 or less, right? Yes, again, like in this scenario, this is what you would do, but I will give you more complex logic afterwards where it will be used a lot. Okay, so I want you to understand the concept. So okay, now it will verify if it's like more, output 2, and if it's less, output 2. If it's less, output 1. And we'll say word counter. So we will create the variable, right? So we are creating the variable and we are saving this into this variable. And obviously you need to reprompt it to make sure that it actually will either, so you must always reply with either 1 or 2. And you would say like bold formatting, throw the mark down, never reply with anything besides 1 or 2. No additional characters, words, or symbols. Okay, we will use a good model. We will crank down the temperature to 0.1 because we want it to follow the prompt exactly. And we can just, we can essentially copy and paste it in there. So now, for the most part, I'm pretty sure it will be accurate. So it will output either 1 or 2. We will connect it to the condition and say, hey, if it's 1, it's good, right? So it's like pretty short. And now let's display this, right? So we can display the response to the user, right? So it's like pretty short message. But if it's not, so for example, if it's 2, then we will do the another step, AI step. But here we can do the response AI because we already want to display something to the user. Here we can say analyze the response. Oh, sorry. And obviously I forgot to mention here because we're asking it to analyze the response, but we have not provided the actual response. So you would do, here is the response, and you would put the response variable, right? So here is the response to analyze, right? And this is the response. Okay. Here you would do something similar, analyze the response and shorten it down to 6 words or less. You must always output 6 words or less. This is the dumb prompt, but I think it should work, right? And then we can copy, like, here's the response to analyze. Same thing. We'll do the prompt. Okay, now we can essentially like keep the temperature up. We can increase the max talkings. And after that, we'll actually wait for the response, right? And we'll, once there is a reply, we'll actually go, it's not here. We'll actually go back here, right? We'll actually go back here. Now, so let's say the bot will respond with something bigger than 6. It will output here, it will output 2, it will go to this scenario. This scenario will crank down the response into like 6 or less words, right? And then we'll wait for the response. Let's actually test it out and see how it works. I hope it will. It should. So we'll say hi. 6 is it's else. Okay, so here, as you can see, here we said response. Oh, okay, yeah, my bad. So we saved the response. We are saving the response in the response variable, but here we're saving 1 or 2 in the word counter variable. So I was not able to change it here. So we can say word counter. So if the word counter is 1, and what I usually do is I put contains. We're obviously prompting AI to never output any symbols, characters, or anything besides 1 or 2. But sometimes it will hallucinate anyways, so it's better just because it will like put 2, comma, or like output is 2. So if 2 can, like if the word counter variable contains 2, it will go to this step. So let's actually test it out. So we'll see hi. I would actually crack it up to okay. And let's, for the sake of the demo, let's actually display, because it's not super clear into when you in the debug mode, it's not super clear what was the initial response variable. So let's do this. We will actually display this, like, for example, the short response to the user, and we'll also display the original response. So we'll do the message, and this is the original response, right? So that we can like kind of compare it to each other. And let's instead of 6, let's do 10. Let's do 10 words. But here, let's keep it 6, okay? Let's see how it works. We'll say hi. Let's see what it gives us. Okay, so it will analyze the response. It will save it into the variable. Okay, so here is the actual thing that the AI was able to, how AI shortened this initial response message. The problem that I have is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So this is the response with 7 words. It's not 10. So it's technically need to output 1. So let's see why it was not able to do that. So let's actually check. Okay, I was not able to just do it here. So we need to output either 10. So, okay, so now let's see it after the modification. Hi, it should output 1 and go above. No. Same thing. Okay, I guess because we also forgot to change the system prompt. No. Okay, where's the problem? So analyze the user response. We're saving the response in the variable, right? Analyze the response if it's less than 10 words. If it's If it is or less than 10 words, output 2. If it's more than 10 words, output 2. You must always reply with no characters. Okay, let's actually duplicate it here. We don't really need it, but I just want to test it out. So we'll concatenate this. It should work. So let's see if it's one response. Okay. And this is, let's go above so that it's clear. Like, honestly, it should work. And this is why the prompting really matters. Let's say again, hello. Now it qualified it as 1. It means that it's less than 10 words. Tell me a story, please. This will probably be more than 10 words, so it will go and output 2. It will shorten it to 6 words. Okay, here is the Jesus. It's some crazy story, I guess, with a lot of words. But so it's like it verified that it's more than 10 words. It means that it will go here. This step shortened it to 6, and we still display it. Okay, I think it should be pretty clear right now, right? Okay, now we covered everything into the AI step. There is response and there is set AI. When we talk about the talk, how to call it, like talk folder, there is a message which is a static message. It's pretty straightforward, right? The image, the card, and carousel are very similar things, so you can upload any image here. Let's upload one of my thumbnails, and you'll like display it here, right? So you can actually display the link, and you can dynamically display it based on, so for example, if your response somehow has the link, right? If this is the link, it will display it to the actual person. It will display this image in the bot, so if it's a direct link to the image, okay? With a carousel, same thing, so you can upload multiple cards, you can attach buttons to this, so it's very basic. I think you'll be able to figure this out. Now let's actually cover the prompt, and the prompt is a new feature that the Voiceflow introduced. It's not a new feature, it's more like a new way of creating the prompts. If you go back to your dashboard, you will see that we have a separate prompts folder, right? I have some, I just duplicated the projects, I'm not sure what these are. You have the actual like messages thing. So here you can manage all of your messages. To be completely honest, I don't use it, okay? So I've never done it. It's probably for the projects that have like enormous amount of messages. But most of our messages are not static. They're dynamically generated by the AI. So you can technically, like essentially, for example, if you click here, you can modify this and it will be reflected on the canvas right away. So it's like the same thing with the prompts. So you can like click the prompt and you can figure this out, right? If you have multiple prompts. For the most part, in 95% of the cases that you're going to build either for your business or other clients, you will not probably use it. Plus, I still always like to keep everything into one canvas just because I'm visual. And that's why I love Voiceflow. I swear to God, they did not pay me. They helped me a lot when I was starting out. They were like reposting my posts, reposting my videos. I hope they will do the same thing with this one. But I genuinely love the software just because of the flexibility. You can literally like not use this new thing depending on, I'm not sure if they're gonna actually was supposed to ask the question to the Daniel, is the guy from the Voiceflow, either they're planning to remove it or not, but I can like just use whatever I want. And especially it's relevant to the things like intents, where I don't completely use the Voiceflow functionality. I just build it directly from scratch just because I trust it more. So that's why I like it. It's like very flexible. Anyways, so this is how the prompt looks. So Once you drag it to the canvas, you will see nothing. So let's actually click new prompt. Let's go to the interface and let's see what it gives us. We have a standard system prompt and user prompt. We have the settings, and that's in a nutshell it, right? So it's like very similar to what you see in the response AI. So you have the prompt, you have the prompt settings, and you have the system prompt, right? You can say respond to the user question, and you can reference the last utterance, and you can say be short, done, and you will say for O, whatever, you will play around with temperature, done, and like that's it. So you can like do the same thing. So let's remove it, let's do this, and let's, where is it, let's duplicate this module. Okay, just to show you that it works literally the same way. So if we go here, it will ask us, hi, how are you? Hi. It will go to the prompt, it will prompt it, and will like loop us inside. Good. Yeah. Okay. So it works the same way, but obviously they kind of introduced it for a reason. And now I will explain you why. Right now, I am introducing a new concept for you, which is a memory. It's like super obvious, but it's not that straightforward sometimes. When you talk to ChatGPT, by default, it saves the conversation. So if you talk to the ChatGPT back and forth, right, you can like ask a few questions right away, and then you can say, hey, by the way, what did I ask just now, or what was the question like that I asked a few minutes ago? And it will give you the response. Yes, it's saving everything. And unfortunately, it's not doing it by default on Voiceflow, but I understand why they don't need to do that, because it's the tool, it's not the actual thing that you like play around with. And I receive some requests, not a lot, but some requests of people saying, hey, yeah, I don't like the Voiceflow, I would just stick with Assistant's API and we'll connect. For example, some of them connect the Assistant like custom GPT here in the Voiceflow just because it has the memory, but you can save the memory here. Here's how you would do that. Let's actually go with the default so that it's easier. So we'll go here, we'll like do the same prompt, right? So answer whatever, so any modal, be short, stuff like that. Now, and we'll connect it here, and we will, okay, so, and whatever, so we'll do the capture, we'll capture the entire user reply here, and we'll loop it inside. Here's how it's gonna work. It will not save anything that we say. So we'll say, hi, my name is Eugene. Do you know my name? No. So it doesn't save anything. So it like doesn't know what I said above. Here's how you can do that. You can, as you can see, there's like a small toggle here. It's not the toggle, it's the drop down. And you can use, in order to respond to the user question, you can actually use, so I never use it response using the memory, but you can response with the memory and prompt. So here you can visually think that these are like two different things. So for example, I'm reconnecting. So for example, once like user, for example, like reply with, hi, how are you? My name is Eugene. It will generate the response. So it will send this prompt, right? So it will say, send this prompt as well as the whole conversation history to the 4.0 model, right? To this model. It will send, generate the response. So this response will be generated based on our prompt here, as you can see, memory and prompt, right? So memory and prompt. So now if we say things like, hi, my name is Eugene. Do you know my name? Yes, you mentioned that your name is Eugene. So now we have an actual ChatGPT conversation. So it's pretty straightforward. It's like a bit more, right? So it's like tip of an iceberg. So what you can also do, if you want to go a bit more advanced, which you're still not on this part of the tutorial, we'll do it later, but you can do just with the prompt. It will not have the memory by default, but what you can do is you can say, here is the conversation memory, and you would actually provide a variable called VF memory. This is the variable that is generated by Voiceflow by default. I think, so this is not like, don't take my words as the rule. I think at least this is what it was. I think it saves only 10 last utterances and responses from the AI, from the conversation, okay? So it means that if it's more than 10, so let's say if your user has an in-depth conversation with the AI, it will not remember what happened like a while back, okay? So it has the limit. What I was saying, that don't take my word as a rule, just because I'm not sure if maybe they already fixed it, and I don't think it's a bug. It was made by intentionally, so that you don't like overcomplicate it. But there is a way to expand the knowledge, and I will explain it later. But for it now, right, this is what you can also do, and it will work the same way. So you would say, hi, my name is Eugene. Okay, so do you know my name? Yes, Eugene. So it's like it's doing the same thing, even though here we don't have it. So even though we don't have it here, and you might ask, okay, Eugene, so why? So like, why would we do that and not like use, for example, this? I'll explain. When you build complex agents, you want to have as much control as possible. You want to control each and every step. And once we're gonna touch the intents, that's why we're using a custom solution and not just like pre-built Voiceflow thing. So here you can, for example, prompt it to look at the conversation history, but with some sort of an exceptions or with some things that you would want it to do. So for example, let's say you can like take the conversation history in consideration, but never, I'm not sure if it's gonna work, but let's try. Never take the name of the user into the consideration. Again, you must never analyze names that user provided during the chat. Just skip it. Okay, I'm not sure if it's gonna work. I'm not sure. So let's crank down the temperature. Like, okay, so let's actually provide it in the system prompt. And let's say here is the memory. Here's the conversation history. Okay. So let's try it out. This is not something that you would use. This is something that you would use, but not in like this scenario. So you would say, hi, my name my name is Eugene. Okay. Hi, do you know my name? Okay. See, it's not referencing. So what was it? Yeah. See, it's not like, because we prompted to not like take it into the consideration, but now I like apples. Okay, do you know what I like? Let's see. Yes, you mentioned you like apples. See? And it's not possible to do it with the default. It's like technically possible, right? So technically you can prompt it the same way, but you would like, it's not gonna be that accurate because you can literally like say, here's the conversation, and you like remove this part from the conversation, and you can manipulate it however you would want, right? That's why it's actually valuable, and that's why it's like, it is the best thing that you can do with the memory. Okay, and I will explain later how you can create a bigger memory with all the conversation history. Okay, so back to the actual new prompt step. If you go here, there's no like drop down with using this, but you can see there's a button with add, and you can add conversation history. Okay, there you have it. So now it will send to the to this model, it will send the system prompt, it will send the user prompt, and it will also send the conversation history with the variable the same way. And obviously you can remove it from here, and you can reference it directly. So this is whatever, and VF memory. So you don't need to like have this and reference it here. So choose one. If you're building a simple version of the thing, you can do it here, but I would suggest you to always try to use it here, just so that you train yourself to set up the bots correctly from the very beginning. Okay, and now I think the thing that the Voiceflow is most proud of, in terms of the actual like new interface, you can add the message pair. Okay, so here is how it works. In a nutshell, you can go watch their video where they explain and give more examples. I don't use it. Okay, you can say, here is what user said, and you don't. Okay, so you can technically respond to the user question, I like apples, and now there is no variable, so it will not respond because there is no question, right? But that's why there is an agent below. We can say, if this is the question that the user asked, okay, should be your answer. Awesome. But I like oranges. Okay, and you can add another, for example, pair. The user said then, glad to hear, what else? And then respond, like AI would respond, also fish, like stupid conversation there. And then here you would now say, now analyze this user question, and you would actually reference the question here. So in a nutshell, this is like, instead of just doing one prompt, you're doing a chaining. So you're like providing multiple prompts as a chain. If you, for example, if there's like no conversation history, or you want the replies to be more precise, you can provide it right away here, so that like it will send everything. So and you can add, for example, a conversation history, and you can do it like here. Okay, so it will send to, like, for all model, it will send the system prompt, the user prompt, the like going back and forth, the pairs, and then it will say, okay, so this is the conversation history, and this is the actually user utterance. So it will take everything into the consideration, so that technically it has an easier time to understand your context. A few things, I haven't tested it enough, just to see where it will be applied. I see a few use cases, especially with the one that like Daniel was showing on the YouTube channel of the Voiceflow. You can go and watch it, where there's like some language involved, language classification. Yeah, sure. But for the most part, this is not something that we would use. And how we use it is if we need to provide more context, for example. So we would say this, and we usually provide the conversation history is at the end, and then we would do another section, and we would do examples of the output of the whatever outputs, and you can say same thing, right? Agent user. So, and this will be like it's gonna do the same thing. Maybe there's some way use case where you would not use it, but that's why I said at the very beginning that this is not like a script that I'll list all the features. I'm just saying what we use all the time and what works. I'm not trying to overcomplicate things. So yeah, I mean, it's like, I think it should be pretty straightforward. We covered the AI tab, right? So we covered the text tab. For the listen, we have the capture step, we have the button step. It's like super obvious, right? So you add the button and you can say 1, whatever. So you would do like 2, and then you can add, like, connect these buttons to whatever. For example, here. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so okay. I think. Yeah, so it's like here, whatever. So, and then 1 or 2, it doesn't really matter. If we go here, it will do the same thing. So it will like display as the hi. Jesus, okay, so hi. And it will display as 2 buttons, like 1. But obviously, it will now like wait for the response, hi. So it doesn't really make sense, but I think you get the idea, right? So the buttons are pretty straightforward. Choice. And now this is the funny part. I like swear to God, I've never used it. I have no even idea what it does. Like I have slight idea, but I'm not gonna explain it just because. And this is why, like, why you guys sometimes overcomplicate things. I don't like. And maybe so because I'm not the only one, and I'm not the one who's like finalizing all the scenarios in our agency. So I'm usually creating the structure and maybe some flow, and I obviously create everything for the YouTube. And you never like saw me do this thing, and I think we never, like, from what I understand, I need to ask my team, but I think we never used it actually. So maybe it's like some sort of like valuable, but it's more like the intents, I think. But we use the set AI steps to have the full control. So yeah, we never use it. Okay. Conditions. You already understand the condition block. Set block. So the set is where you can set either, variables, values through the expressions, or you can set it through the prompt. So for example, here's the prompt, and you can actually like choose one prompt. So for example, like classify the user intent, whatever, this, like, provide the last utterance. And instead of, as you can, like, if you remember here, we're like in this step in the prompt, we're displaying it to the user the same way as we would do the response AI. Set AI, we're not displaying this, we're saving it in the variable. So it's like doing the same exact thing, but with the prompt, and you can save this prompt into the actual response, and you can manipulate it further. So if they will remove the set AI step, just know that it's going to be done with the set step, and you can do the set AI through the prompt. Okay. Value expression. I'm not going to cover expression. This is just, you can set certain things through JavaScript. Value is, for example, you can just apply this. So for example, you have the API, whatever. So if you are calling some sort of, and we'll discuss how you would do that in the developer tools. So if you would call the third-party tool from here, and you don't want to reuse the APIs all the time, you can just set the API to whatever, right? And then you would just use it here, right? Or whatever. So you can use it in any block. So you can use the variable, and that's gonna be it, right? So now the only thing is left is the developer tab, and we'll discuss the developer tools when we go below. So I think this is it, right? For the very, very basic setup. Now let's go to some more advanced things on the prompt engineering. And you already saw this from my examples, but just to refine, all the prompts are made with Markdown. This is like just the way you can format your text, Markdown, okay? So as you can see, we're using the headers, like the hashtags, as like to make sure that the AI knows that this is the beginning of the section. We're using the section separators. Here, I was not using it just so that it's faster, but always when I, for example, provide something, as this is, as you can see, there is no, so because I copied and pasted this specific block, we don't have anything here, so that's why it's displaying the weird variable. So here in the custom memory, like same thing. So we would not just say, hey, this is the last user utterance and this is the next section. You can do that. But again, remember, full control, the best responses. So that's why we not just display, here's the conversation history for the context. Analyze the last user utterance. Here's the last user utterance. So we would also add the tags here to separate it from other sections. So these are HTML tags, just so that it's I think it's HTML tags. Again, I'm not a coder, so I sometimes like even get confused with these things. So yeah, and you would like remove this, and now it's easier for AI to understand. Okay, this is the section, this is the like kind of the prompt, and this is the goal, and this is the utterance, which is divided into the tags. So like it divides it by the section, by the separators, by the tags. So it will have an easier time to understand everything. And this is, for example, how we structure our intent flow. Okay, let me explain what the intents are so that you can have an easier time understanding why you need to use them. If you actually go into the intents section of the Voiceflow, you can create an intent. So let's imagine that you have a conversation of, this is just, it could be a simple, chatbot, whatever. And in the chatbot, you have multiple intents what user might say. So for example, there's like a utterance, right? So let's call it utterance. And this could be, for example, customer support request, CS. This could be, let's take just chatbots for, e-com. It's just easier to understand, like order request. So, or like delivery. So let's say it's delivery. Let's say it's a complaint. Delivery, shipping, same thing. Or let's say it's a recommendation if it's a new user. Okay, if it's the new user, let's use the recommendation. So here, in order, we can technically prompt the AI here. So we can technically prompt the AI with like huge prompt to reply to everything. But it's not the best, especially if you're like connecting to other tools, if you're displaying some information like images and some other info. So you need to classify first what is the intent of the user. And then based on the intent, you would send the user to different flows, or AKA workflow. So this is, okay, so it's not this one. So it's like 1, and you would send it to 2. So all these things. So you would, like, for example, here, you would send it to 1, you would send it to 2, you would send it to 3, you would send it to 4. So these are all the different flows. And obviously, as I said, I would do it internally here, right, in one canvas, but it's too big. You would need to separate it into the workflows. So here's how just, everyone, most like 99% of the Voiceflow users use the intents. So you go here, and obviously it's very common use case, so they created a separate thing, and it's pretty good. It's pretty good, but it's not perfect. So you would create an intent, and let's say this is the customer support. So it's like customer support, and you'd say trigger this, and this very important because this description the AI will take into the consideration, or the NAU, how to classify the last utterance. So we'll say trigger this intent if the user want to talk to if the user want to talk to customer support reps, something like that. And you would do talk to support utterance. So these are like examples. I need support, so stuff like that. And you can generate like 5, 10, 20 samples, and that's why Voiceflow is great. You can actually generate it dynamically. I think there are also softwares and apps that use it, but yeah. So that's it, right? So, and you can actually capture entities, and we haven't discussed entities yet. I think we'll like put it later because we don't usually use them. So, and you create the intent. So essentially, this intent will be triggered once user mention some of these things. In the settings, there are two main options how it will be classified. You can classify it as a natural language understanding, which is not AI. So it should be similar. So the response should be similar, very similar to one of these. If you use the LLM, and you can use any LLM that you would want, you would actually the AI will analyze the utterance. And you can create, as you can see, this is the prompt that they have created when the user asks warm drink. This is like very similar to what we are building ourselves, because we're not using it, but you'll see. Anyways, so you can craft the prompt, and you can like do whatever you want. And let's create maybe new intent, which is delivery. Trigger this when user has a question about delivery, something like that. And let's see if it's gonna generate. Yeah, so it's like it will take the description and it's like generating some utterances. Okay, so let's create the intent. Now, if we go to the workflow, we can add a trigger, and the trigger could be an event or an intent. So in our case, this is an intent. And for example, we would say customer support. Okay, I actually deleted everything, so I was not supposed to do that, I think. So let's actually recreate it really fast. Do you have a question? Something like that. We'll do the capture step. We'll capture the entire user reply. We'll respond with AI. Answer user question. Last utterance. And we'll actually use the prompt at the memory. And now we'll actually... Okay, so we will do the capture. We'll also capture the entire user reply, and we'll loop it inside. Okay, so here, as you can see, this is a separate intent. So like this is a whole separate flow, and you can add this trigger. Obviously, this is how most people use it. So like once you create a new workflow, this will be the trigger. So how the workflow should be triggered, and you can create the intent. Okay, so once customer mentions something about customer support, it will go to this step, okay? But as I said, I don't really like it, so we will keep it into one workflow so that it's easier. And let's create this, and we'll say support. We'll output one question, like one message, support, and we'll capture the user reply, okay? So let's start it. If we say, hi, how are you? Whatever. So we'll continue talking with the thing. If we say, I want to talk to support, Okay, see, it was not, so it did not jump into the customer support flow, but it's supposed to. One thing is that we haven't trained the agent yet. This is one thing. So we need to train it to understand certain things, especially regarding intents. Plus, we need to work on the prompts. So let's actually test it one more time. So we'll say, hi, I want customer support. Now, it's still not triggering the support. I probably forgot about something, or it's just not working as expected because I never actually use it. So let's see. We have a really good model. We lowered the temperature. We have the prompt, which is not what we want to modify. So we have the customer support. Can we, like, let's copy this utterance and see if it's gonna work exactly like that. Okay, and this is why I was always, like, honestly hating this thing, just the utterances, and the yeah, I think I understand why. Yeah, so yeah, sorry. So see, like, I'm not using it, so sorry. Like, I sometimes get confused. So here in the, when you're saving the response, you're essentially, like, you're not saving, this is not a save response block. This is the block that waits for the user reply. This is the main action. So, and we can either wait for the entity, we can wait for the user reply, or we can wait, listen for other triggers. So now, and like, let's do the same thing. So I hope this time it will work. So it means that once it's listening to the user question, if it classifies this as the customer support, it will send it here. Okay. Complete, could not compile your agent. Okay, so let's see. Okay, let's reload and see what's going on. Yeah, okay, so something was wrong on my side, I think, just because it was loading too much, so I needed to cut the video. Let's test it one more time and see how it's gonna do. If we say the same thing, it will now jump into the support intent. So I think it should be pretty clear, and obviously you can do different triggers within one workflow or create multiple workflows, and you will do the intent. So this is the delivery intent. And now you would display it as a delivery. Okay? Pretty clear, right? Here is how we do that internally. So instead of relying on this, like, default functions, we create what we call sub agents within our workflow. So we have, usually is just the set AI step with a very, very clear and exact prompting that result into the intent classification. So for example, if we read here, analyze the last user utterance and identify either it's a conversation utterance, an utterance related to the business, or an utterance related to the class code. And I got it from one of the real projects. So we could do 3 different intents in the Voiceflow, right? So here we would do 3 different triggers. The one could be like conversational trigger, the second would be the business trigger, and the third would be like class code. Probably would not work. So here we clearly say that if it's 1, output 1. It's conversational, output 1. Remember the beginning of the conversation, I was showing why we need it. So here it's like the actual implementation. If it's the class code, output 3. Last utterance examples, we're giving the examples here. So it's like, for example, what is the class code info about? Like, if somewhere in the message there is a class code and I specifically say that there's the class code is a 4-digit code, then you need to output 3. The rules, we lower down the temperature, there's no system problem for some reason, it should be. And then we have just the condition block. And we say, if the intent, and we're saving 1, 2, or 3 in the intent variable. So if the intent is 1, 2, or 3, if it's like 1, it should be contains. If it's 1, then go here. And it's going to be the same thing, right? So, and for example, like support, let's say this is the first message in this intent. We can send it the same way by saying there's an action and we want to go. We can either go to the intent, right? So we can choose the intent and say, this is the customer support. So if it's 1, obviously it doesn't make sense because 1 is the conversational utterance. But now, once the AI will classify this as 1, and if it verified that it's 1, it will just jump into here. We can do the same thing and jump not into the intent, but we can jump into the block. So for example, if it's not 1, it will jump into any block on the canvas, and we can say, okay, so let's say it's the greeting block, and there should be somewhere the greeting block, I'm not sure, whatever, so it should be somewhere here. But if we, for example, this should be like our block, let's call it X, and if we choose it here, right, we can say X, and this is the block. So if it will not be 1, it will just, we can, just like the same way you connect it through this, right? So through the arrows, you can connect it through the actions, go to the block, to keep it like more clean. I think you got the idea, right? So we're using the same thing, and each utterance, yes. So, and you would ask, Eugene, so how does it know when we need to classify the utterance? The answer is every time. So after each message that users submit, we will run this thing and actually classify it. It is not, easy to do sometimes because, for example, we're not taking the conversation memory into the consideration. And this is what you would need to do. And I think this is what we have here. Yeah. So this is kind of the similar setup from another project, but instead of outputting 1, 2, or 3, we're saying, hey, it's like, actually, I think this is the updated, as you can see, it's more clear. Types of intents. We have list of 4 intents. So it's like general, company, contact, project, examples, but not limited. And we're asking AI to output 1 word, either like general, company, contact. Then we verify if it's like this word, if it's this word. There's no variable because I just copy and paste it, so it doesn't save the variable anywhere. So it's like, it's the same thing, but we're also taking the conversation history into the consideration. So every time we will analyze the user like reply, it will try to classify the reply into one of these things, and will take the whole memory into the consideration. I'll explain why. So let's say that, like, we'll use our setup. So here in the middle, we'll have our prompt. And we will go here, right, into the CS, and we'll provide the reply to the user here. Let's say the user says, okay, but I have a question. But this is the last. So, and he sent it to the bot. Okay. This is the problem. If we verify each and every utterance, so how should AI classify this? So like, okay, but is it the customer success? Is it the delivery? This, or like, for example, is the conversational? It's like, for example, general, right? It will probably classify it as general, because general is everything. As you can see, it's like, hi, how are you? What's the weather? Your AI, my name, whatever. So it's like everything not related to the business. So it will probably classify it as general and will send it to another workflow. But why? Because this is a part of this CS intent. So it's like, we're still inside the intent. We can technically limit it So once a user goes within the pipeline, within the workflow, we can just remove, for example, the intent classification. And this is why you're doing it here. So for example, you can maybe one time you want, so here you want to, for example, listen for all triggers, but here, once user landed into the customer support, you might not listen to the intent. So it will not send it to separate workflows. But now the problem is that, okay, but what if the user wants to, from the customer support, jump into the delivery or jump into the recommendations? So now it's kind of confusing. You can technically manage it still. But what we do, we provided conversation history. And we ask AI to take conversation history into the consideration before classifying the intent. So it will see, okay, but as you can see here, because we're providing the last utterance, but it will also has the all conversation history with the user. It will see that it was classified with the customer success. So it should probably again output customer success because the user is still going through the flow. That's why this is the difference between the beginner and the pro, like me and my agency. Okay, this is the actual difference with these things. This thing is still very straightforward and simple on the conversational side. It's nothing fancy, but as you can see, the way I think about certain things, the way we handle all the possibilities, all the scenarios, all the hallucinations, this is where the actual difference in. Yeah, I think it should be pretty straightforward, on the prompting side, on how to instruct it, markdown, and all the blocks that we need, right? Now let's jump into the knowledge base side of Voiceflow. Obviously, this is a complex topic also, just because this is one of the ways why agents started to get popular and popular, because you can train it on your information and you can ask it to respond based on certain things. Voiceflow has an awesome knowledge base. They have a lot of things on the back end going on. It's based on RAG, and you can add different things here. So for example, let's just get some random website. Let's say it's a plumber in UK cheap, something like that. Okay, let's get some sort of your plumber whatever website. Okay, so what you can do, you can just copy the link, you can add a source to your knowledge base, and you can just do the URL. You can input multiple URLs, or you can also you can create a sitemap. Not the create. So for example, here you would do the sitemap.xml. Not all the websites have the sitemap, but some do. As you can see, it found 32 URLs of the company, and you can simply import them. Okay, now we have the knowledge base, right? And we can ask questions about this business, right? Let's try it out. So we uploaded the thing, and obviously you can upload the URL sitemap, you can upload the files, right? So the docs, you cannot upload the Excel spreadsheets, just because it's the whole nother story, especially with the Voiceflow. And you can upload the simple text. And I'll explain how you actually need to do that. You don't need to use the sitemap and do it like that. So bear with me. Let's test our flow. I think let's remove these two flows. And let's say that this is the advanced thing. Let's go like this. So we'll say, hi, what is your question? Something like that. We would then say, capture the user reply, right? So we are capturing the whole user reply. And if you get the, set step, right, response with AI, you can use as the data source AI model, or you can use the knowledge base. So here you would search for the information in the knowledge base. So the question could be the last user utterance, right? And the instruction is respond to the user question. There's a no if the response was not found, and you can override the prompt. Because if you go to the knowledge base, you have the settings here, right? So you can choose the model, for example, for, you can temperature, like you can chunk limit. And let's clarify what the chunks means. Again, as a non-technical person, like very straightforward, RAG knowledge base. So essentially, like, this is the knowledge base, and if you like click on the button, you can see the data source. So it's like it's chunking down, as you can see, like there's 1 chunk, 2 chunk, 3 chunks. So it's like chunking down the information from the website into chunks. And once it's looking for the information through the certain workflow internally, it finds the, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4 relevant chunks, which is again, like, for example, it can find like this chunk from this link. It can find whatever, this chunk from this link. So it can find different chunks from different links, because the same information about your question can be available on different parts of the website. So more chunks it will find. It can, like, for example, it can find like 10 chunks, but you would say, okay, you would only want 2. So it might technically limit your question, like your answer clarity, just because maybe there's some more information on other chunks. But then you would spend less talking, and it would be like faster. So usually the default is 2 or 3. So if you need, if like it's very extensive website, you can crack it up. Anyways, so this is where the chunks in. So, and this is where you can set up the prompt. Here you can like override the prompt, right? So same thing you do for whatever, but you do not override the chunks. And you would do the system be clean, something like that. And now we will actually wait and capture the entire user reply, and we'll get back here. So let's see. If we say what, again, as you can see, is untrained, we can train it. Always try to train it just in case, even if you're like testing a simple scenario. Okay, we can say, what services do you sell? Now it responds with the information from the website. So it found some chunks from that are related, and then AI, based on these instructions, analyzed these chunks, right? And provided the response. So if we say hi, it will not find anything, because this is not a question, right? So we need to create a path where the conversations will go if no information were found on the website, right? Maybe there is information, but you need to still refine the prompt. You need to still refine certain things. So this is how Knowledgebase look in a nutshell. Again, the same thing with the intents. We do not use this step, right? The Knowledgebase. We use it a bit differently, and I'll explain how. But let's first discuss the way you structure the Knowledgebase. This is the most important part of your bot if you actually work with, okay, so prompting, maybe prompt engineering may be like more important, but this is again like where the difference happens between like the beginner and the pro. The beginner will do the same thing like this, and as you can see, it was like pretty accurate, right? So it's like, okay, we're selling plumbing services, so it was very accurate. If you're working with like simple use cases, simple websites, simple documents, yeah, sure. But if you work with very complex scenarios, if you need to make sure it's like medical data or something medical related field, you need to make sure that all the information is correct, like on like 99% of the cases. So you would structure the knowledge base a bit different. Okay, so you would delete this. We have a few tools that we use. So if you look like at the one of the knowledge base from our project, and I think this was the demo that I was showing on my YouTube channel, this is like the same thing. But if you look closely, This is the content from the website, but see the tag, see the hashtags. So it's formatted in the markdown. So it's not just displaying the bulk of tags, because there are links, there are like certain things that are not related to your content. You preferably not to actually see it in your knowledge base, but even if you would at least structure it properly in the markdown. And like to do it manually is gonna take you like an infinite amount of time. So there are websites like Firecrawl. We use it, like I do recommend them. We're using it all the time. So here you can input the URL, and you can like do it through the APIs, you can do it manually through the playground. Okay, so you can input the URLs, there are options, you can exclude, include different tags, you can play around with it. But when you run the scenario, so let's go back and let's say that we will input this URL. So it will scrape the data from the website, okay, like that. Or we will ask Firecrawl to scrape the data. As you can see, there is a data, but it's structured in the markdown format. So if we copy this, go here, this is not structured data, right? So it's just the data from the website. Here we would send the text, and this is it's like the same data. It's like the same data, but this is just not structured and this is structured. This will result in, usually for the complex cases, 40 to 50% increase in accuracy. It really depends. It might be like 10%. It might not be. So it might not be relevant for, like, for example, for this business. But I think from my experience, it will, like, in 5-10%, it will make like 5-10% difference. But it's like very simple. It's not a lot of tags. There's not that much information, no prices, anything like that. So this is like how you would actually scrape the information. And you can use the crawl if you want to crawl the whole website. You can use the map, and this is what we started to use. For example, you can map all the URLs on the website. As you can see, this is all the URLs, and then you can define maybe manually what information you want to. So if you don't want to go into each and every URL on the website and find it, so you can technically see this, you can import it in ChatGPT, find, for example, the URLs that are relevant, and then scrape it and then upload it to the to here. I was promising my guys to kind of the tutorial where I will explain how to automate this thing. So because you can automate it through Make, that will do automatically, if, like, all the mapping, scraping, and the upload to the Voiceflow. So wait for it. One thing again I wanted to mention, which is like I think one of the most important part for most of you guys, this template, like the whole template, like this, and all of other templates. All of our other templates that I show on my YouTube channel are available like for literally free. There's like second link in the description. It's my newsletter. You sign up, you get the access to the, okay. I will not provide this template there. So there will be like the knowledge base, whatever. And I will not provide any of the links there. It's not there. You can like technically do it yourself. If you want to get access here, some of you know that I have a bootcamp, which is 99 players. This is the bootcamp where I help you to sign clients. So this is the video about technical aspects of AI agency building, business and chatbots, whatever. If you're planning to sell these things, I can actually help you to do that. 99 players is the bootcamp, which consists of the 12-week course, which is step-by-step from choosing the niche, services, offers, pricing, cold outreach strategies, paid ads. Again, I am one of the only guys that are real, that show my results. I share the clients. I know what I'm talking about, and this is what I'm going to teach you here. This is a course, but it's 99 players is not the course. So 99 players is the bootcamp. Course is just one part of the thing. We also have the mastermind thing and the community where you get access to the Discord. There is like a chat, there is a office hours, as you can see here, the recordings of all of my sales calls. We have the recordings of office hours, we have like the chat, whatever. So we have everything. And more importantly, besides the course and the mastermind, you have direct access to me. I promise it to everyone who goes on the full paid access. There is a business hub and technical hub. Business hub is where you can ask any question that you want and get a direct reply like this, like the 3-minute voice message, right, about your concern. So this is kind of my one-on-one support, right? If you need technical support on building certain things, you're not sure how to build something, there is a technical hub where I have my team members connected, my developers there. If you have a question, we will go over and help you with a question. So it's like in both of these things, other members can help you out, other paid members, but I guarantee that you will get a response either from me or my team all the time. Okay? So bootcamp, 12-week course where I guarantee that you'll sign the client. There's a direct access and there's a mastermind. So, there is $1 access, as you can see here. This is just the access to the Discord, to the chat, to some office hours. We do office hours 2 times a week, but we have some access to the free members. There's a, insights where we share some things that we see, whatever. And I think week 1 of the course, right? So there's a course overview, right? So it's like, and there's 1 week available for the members. So what I'm saying is that there will be this template. So if you go here into the templates, so this template will be available here. So just join for $1. You can get some help in chat. You can network with others. It's like pretty active, as you can see. We're like chilling some things, playing Hogwarts, PlayStation, and going back and forth. So if you want the full access, it's only available by the interview. I do not accept everyone. It's limited to 99 concurrent students, and the price, I think, tripled from the start, from when I launched November 9th. And I'm not like bullshitting. You can contact the members and see how much they paid. So I'm not specifically stating how much it is. It's like 4 figures if you are interested. So I guarantee this result to all the paid members. So if you're the paid member, you will guarantee the result, or I refund you the money for the bootcamp. So in order to do that, you need to actually book the conversation with me. Okay? Yeah, so let's actually go into the details of the knowledge base structure. For example, if you have the documents and not websites, you would use a separate software like Llama Cloud. This is super funny. This was the software that was recommended to me by the guy in our bootcamp. He was testing it out, and from what I found, it's really good. There are multiple softwares like this. For example, you have the website here. It's pretty straightforward. You would actually go into Firecrawl, you would crawl the website, and you'll upload it here. Let's say there are some sort of like documents, and usually these are PDFs, like text sheets from the website, from the company, the products, whatever. So you can upload them here. So you can just upload the file, that's it. But this is not the best way to do that. Voiceflow has like pretty okay way of scraping the data. But if you would go here, you can actually like define a lot of different things that you want to scrape from the data. And you can technically actually use the AI to scrape certain information from the document. This is not what we want. It really depends on if you have 200 pages, it's going to be like this, you would probably need the scraping parsing instruction so that to short down the file. But you can go here, you can scrape the information from the document in a structured format, and then same thing, upload it as the text to your knowledge base, and you are pretty much good to go. There is a Zendesk integration, and I will explain how to connect to third-party tools like Zendesk in the latest version, latest part of the video. But we never actually used, because there is Zendesk obviously has the help desk feature with some companies have huge documentation there, so it can use this. But okay, it's very rare use case. Now, once right now you should be clear on how to structure the knowledge base. Let's actually go into the details on how to retrieve the information from it. This is the basic scenario, right? So you go here, and that's it. Voiceflow recently introduced a new feature called the KB search. It can be found, if I'm not mistaken, here. So if you drag and drop it, it's here. So as I mentioned, once you do the internal interface, like the internal feature of getting the information from the knowledge base, it's doing everything in one. So it's like retrieving the chunks, right? So which are, again, can be set here. So how many chunks you would want to have. And then based on these chunks, it's responding to the question, right? So it's like combining two tasks into one to make it simple. Remember what we want? We want the full control over each and every step. That's why Voiceflow listened to us and implemented the KB search. Here, you just retrieving the chunks and not replying to the user question. So what you can do is, for example, let's actually move it here. So let's say the user will ask the question and we'll go here. So we will actually question and we'll retrieve the chunks. And then let's say we will display, and like these chunks will be saved into the variable. So it's like very similar to set AI step where you prompt the AI in your setting, it setting the response into the variable. But here we're actually setting the chunks into the variable. So we can then display these chunks. Okay, you would not want it in the real use case, but okay, so let's actually KB. Is it KB response? Okay, so it's KB response. And now we would wait for a reply again and we'll loop it there. Okay. So let's see how it's going to do. If we say what services you provide, it will not answer as we do the plumbing. It will send us huge text. Yeah. So it's like huge text. These are, as you can see, with even with the images, just because we're like, it's like providing the URL, so it's like rendering the image right away. So like these are just the chunks right away, right? So, and in above here, it's like using these chunks as a reference, but here we're not. Again, why? So that we have the more control. And now you should already understand where I'm coming to. You can do the response AI and you can say, hey, like respond to the user question, last utterance, and use the context below as an information source. And we will use here KB chunks. Okay, KB response, whatever. And we'll do the whatever. And now we will actually get a response and we'll loop it inside. Okay, let's see how it's gonna. Sorry, where it's actually should be here. Yeah, show last response, KB chunks. No, sorry, we don't need to display the KB chunks, right? We no longer need them, and this is how it's gonna be. Okay, we don't need this. Okay, let's see, because I started the flow, so like I click this, so it went up at the very beginning step. What's your question? What services do you sell? Now we had a huge, again, like huge this, but this is not what users see, because if we remove the debug mode, we don't see it. So this is like internal thing. And we're then using AI and it's like actually providing us a pretty good response. This way you can control the same way as you would do with the memory, right? This way you can actually do that. There's one more thing, like kind of one step further to go even more in depth, and this is what we have been using. We actually still use it just because of a few things. I'm not going to mention this in this video, but this is like the third layer, which is super custom. So it's like you're sending API request, as I mentioned, Voiceflow is Voiceflow because of their API documentation, because they are like the playground. You can build anything. They have great, backend. So you can call the knowledge base of the same assistant that you are in. So you would go here, you would retrieve your API key, okay? You would then go to workflow. Again, like bear with me, it's not super complex. So here you would do the API request. This is the endpoint authorization. Here you would provide your API key, and you would do whatever this, and this is where the actual like prompting is, your NFK assistant, whatever. So this is like all the things, and this is the last user utterance. So we will, as you can see, if we test it, what services do you sell? See, we get the output, which is plumbing repair. So it's like the same thing that we already did, but through the API request first, through the regular response AI. But here we have the chunks, right? So chunk 1, chunk 2, chunk 2. Yeah, so we have, yes, because see, chunk limit, so it's 2. So we have 2 chunks. This is the JavaScript that essentially like getting these chunks and saving all of them, grouping them together into the KB context. So it's like, this is the chunks. It's like the same way what you are doing here. You are retrieving the chunks and saving them in the KB response. In this case, we're just saving this in the KB this. So we can illustrate it by essentially like doing the same thing. So we can, for example, we can connect this, what's your question, right? So we'll say the response, we'll call the API, we will provide the last utterance, we'll save it here in the KB context, and then we will actually capture the user reply, and that's it. So let's see. What services do you sell? It will, again, should display the huge text. Yeah, so it's like, these are the chunks, the same way as we did here. The same exact thing, this is what we have been using before they introduced the KB search. But there are some things, I just don't want to mention it here because it's like super complex, it's super niche, you don't need it. So you don't really need it. I was just explaining that it's possible to call like exactly the same knowledge base from your, so like sometimes it's maybe not super simple, straightforward to understand because you're sending API requests to literally the same agent you're in, but it's possible. So yeah, but you would use, again, I would highly recommend you to not use the response AI with the knowledge base. I would highly recommend you to use this KB search and then creating the actual like nice prompt, if you remember, with all the formatting here. And this is, see, knowledge base context, and that will be here response, KB response. This will be all the chunks. And now you have the best prompt in the world, okay? So I think it should be, guys, pretty clear on the knowledge base, right? Let's actually remove some of these things so that it's clean. It's nothing else to mention. Just make sure you structure your knowledge base properly and make sure you do the correct prompting with the correct way of retrieving information from the knowledge base. Now to the fun part, I guess, developer tools for some of you guys that are not developers. Bear with me, I'm not a developer. I've been able to build really enormous things on this channel, and we've been building it for the clients, but I have my developers obviously very proficient in all these things. So if we go to here, first thing that we have is function. Okay, let's me remove this and we'll actually open this whole thing up. So the first thing that we see is the function. to understand it, functions are apps within your workflow, within your Voiceflow agent. So for example, let's say you need to connect to a third-party software. You can like use, there's an API block. So right, so you would use the get request, you would put the endpoint, you would put the headers, you'd put the parameters, you'd capture the response, done. You get the response, you process it, whatever. So then you can use it however you want. But Voiceflow started to simplify the approach for their customers. So they created the Voiceflow Functions Marketplace, which is free, by the way. It calls the marketplace, but it's free. So here, for example, like let's get a Shopify as an example. So let's say we need a get the Shopify product by title. So let's say, or like create the order. So we need some for some reason we need to create an order in Shopify. How you would do that, you would actually get the post request, you would like do it through the Shopify API, you would like do everything that you would need, right? Or you can just get this function. So imagine these are the integrations, because BotPress integrations, and this is where like BotPress is different. They have a lot of integrations which are can be advanced integrations, publishing integration, web chat introductions, whatever. So I can find BotPress marketplace. So they have the things built in, probably like channels, for example. Yeah, so all the integrations here. So these are essentially the exact functions that Voiceflow does. I'm not sure if these are published by the actual people or by the BotPress themselves. So Asana, for example, let's see if we have. No, we don't have. Yeah, it's like it's pretty. It's not like big compared to the, as you can see, compared to the BotPress. But for the most part, we don't actually use them. We still use the API request, because if you're building the custom workflow, you would probably need kind of more refined things. And when we are, for example, talking about the Shopify thing, I've never tested it, but there are some inputs. So for example, it's like domain access locking, and this is like the input variables that you have, and this is the outputs. Maybe you need to do some more inputs. You can technically like modify the script and like do something, or you can just create the actual API request from scratch. I'm not gonna go in depth into anything of this. So you have the actual functions, and you would actually download this function. It should download it pretty fast. Here, you would actually import it here, browse, you would import this function, import. Now we have this function. As you can see, these are the input variables. You can like edit anything, and as I said, if you want to have more input variables, you can add them here. But the thing is that you would probably need to understand how it works. To be completely honest, I don't do that. Like, I don't understand how to. If you ask me, hey Eugene, can you please like add this? I have no idea how to do that. So there's Claude and there's ChatGPT that can help you. Yeah, sure, you can train it on different functions. Yes, and this is what you need to do if you are willing to go to this route. But if you find in custom function which exactly fit your needs, you would go here and you would where is it? You would do the function, or is it? Wait, developer tools. Yeah, so function, you would choose your function, Shopify. See, it right away popped up. And let's say you would connect it to some sort of like a module. And here you would capture the details from the user, right, into the variables. And then you can like reference these variables here. It will send the request on the backend, so it will run the function. And this is what you get in the output, right? And then after the output, you can reference these variables. So for example, you would map it to the API, and then you can use this API whatever you want. So this is in a nutshell how functions work. Usually we don't use them, we use the API request, but the only function, as I said, that we use is called memory. So if you go here, function, this is the function, whatever, it's like very simple, even I understand it. So in a nutshell, this is the function that, as you can see here, it's getting as the input last utterance which the user did. It's getting the last response which was provided by the bot, and it's getting the previous custom memory, right, which is variable, and it's saving the custom memory into the custom memory new variable. So this way you can have huge conversations, like amount of conversations with the users. So, and you would actually go here, for example, let's roll it out. And let's see, do you have a question? Yes, no, answer the user question. We would say use only prompt, so it doesn't have the memory, right? After, because let's say it's the first, right? We don't have any memory yet, so it's like the first question. But after we provide this, let's say we can, like this is how we would use it. Sorry. So we would answer the user question and wait for the user response. Once the user responds, we will go to this function. This function will take the last utterance, which is this, right? So that user just sent. The last response, which is this, answer the user question, and the custom memory, which was, for example, from the previous step. And that's it. And now we can loop it back. And now we have the memory. But we don't, since we haven't asked AI to reference it. So we will say, use this below is the conversation history with the user. And now this is where the custom memory variable. Remember, if you watch the whole video, I said the VF memory, right? So it's like, it's the same thing, but VF memory, from what I understand, I will clarify it and I'll put in the comments just in case. It has a limit in terms of the utterance. This does not. So you can just have this, right? And that's it. So you would chat it, say, hi. It's not gonna, if I say my name is Eugene, it's not gonna save it, I think, just because we don't have the memory. You should have the memory here because user might mention something. My name is Eugene. What is my name? Yeah. So, as I said, guys, a few minutes back, this whole template will be available for all the members of the light tier of 99 players. And obviously there will be, like, you click here, $1, so you join the Discord. And there will be the function, right? And you can ask the question. So if you have the problem with the function, you can let us know. Okay, so this is everything that you need to know regarding the functions on Voiceflow, right? Now for the API request, it's pretty, again, straightforward. You can either post, get, put, delete, patch. So it's like super straightforward. Headers, the SAP, the body, URL encoded. You can do the form data. You can capture the response. So once you are getting the response from the API request, which is usually always JSON, so you would actually capture the JSON into a certain variable. So for example, you need to capture the response, for example, from here, right? So you're capturing the chunks, and you are saving them into the chunks variable. So like here, right? Where is it? I think I deleted it. Oh, anyways, I think it's pretty straightforward. Now, the next one is the JavaScript. This not gonna go in depth. This is not the JavaScript tutorial, but you can use any JavaScript that you would want. For example, this is where, and I will like explain this scenario on the humanizing, but this is, let's say we have the reply JSON variable, and you don't need to reference, so you can just write it and it will reference the variable and the information that we have in the variable. let's say there is a JSON in this variable, we're asking to parse it, and then we're like output one, like there's message one, which is like the key message one, key message two, and it will save each and every key into output one and output two variables. So like you can manipulate the data however you would want inside the JavaScript, so it's like pretty straightforward. Again, if you're not a coder, just go to this, to whatever. This is the type in mind, which is the front end for your communication with the AI. With ChatGPT, you can have different models here, or you can use just ChatGPT, and you can say, hey, I need to create the JavaScript to do that inside the Voiceflow. Provided the template, because for example, like it needs to understand how to reference the variables inside the JavaScript. That's it. Okay. Now is what some of you have been waiting for, is the actual, we already discussed keyword search, custom actions. This is, I said that the way you prompt AI, the way you think about certain flows is what differentiate you, like the noob from the pro. Same thing with the knowledge base, same thing with the custom actions. This is how you enrich your experience inside the chatbot. So I will give you a few different examples. For example, we have a simple flow, which is the chatbot, right? We're going back and forth. We're asking the user question. But what if we want to provide some sort of a form-like experience? We want to ask the user some information within the chat, but like in a form. So how do we render the form inside the Voiceflow? Unfortunately, there's no way to do that internally with like pre-built features, and this is why, again, other softwares which is out of the box, or I think BotPress has the form feature, they might be better on this. It's not better, it's easier. Just because it's not better because you can do anything here. But this is what I mean. I have, my website is built on Framer, right? So the agency website. I have the separate page, which is the testing, and as you can see here, this is a full page embed, and I have the embed script, and I will go over this script. As you can see, we have the pop-up here. If we go to here, this is like the pop-up. If we click on it, it will not render anything just because I think we haven't connected. So it's like it's connecting to this bot. But on the start, let's actually go, like, let's drag down the start into this. Okay, so that it's easier for you to see. Let's actually say message, hi, and let's capture the response. This would be the start. Let's publish the bot. I think it should be working. So we are essentially embedding this bot into this website. A simple way to do that is to go through the integration widget, get this code, you confirm it, right? So you actually like get the code and you paste it into your website, right? So usually you would do that in some sort of like a header, which is where's the page, settings, and you would do it somewhere here, okay? But we're not doing that, and we're using this just because we're rendering one more thing within the chatbot. So let's reload it and see. If we start, it will say hi. So it's like, it's not saying anything. And we can develop our system, whatever workflow to ask questions, whatever. But what if we want, as I said, to render something specific? We can connect it to this custom form. And I will explain how it's done. I just want you to visually see. We will publish it. Okay. Take some time. Okay. It will say hi. We will reply to the message, and then it will render us a form. Okay. So let's actually reload it. We don't actually need to reload it. We can just start end the chat and restart it. We say hi. I'll say hi. And now we don't have anything interesting. Let's see why. Awesome, because again, I hope Voiceflow, if someone from you guys watching this, can you please, once you like land into the, once you create the capture, can you do maybe the user reply by default so that it's just easier for everyone? Okay. Okay. We are publishing. Okay, so we published the bot. If we go here, let's start the new chat. We'll say hi. And now, as you can see, this is a full form with the radio buttons, with this thing inside the Voiceflow. Okay, this is a really cool thing, and you can do a lot of different things with it. I was showing like tutorials on my YouTube how we use it. I was showing a few case studies. Let me first like just explain you how it works in a nutshell. So this is done by a custom like CSS, essentially by custom script. So you need to first build this thing, right? You would do that by just going to ChatGPT and by just going into this Voiceflow documentation. Again, all the links will be in the 99 players like light $1 access. So you go here, you Control A, you Control C, you copy everything, you go to Voiceflow, and you like ask it to help you with your script. As you can see, it was actually like crafting the script for me. And here is the actual container, and it's like doing the CSS to render this thing. And this is the whole script that we copy and we integrate here, right? So we are integrating it into our embed. You can actually do the same thing with a page, on the headers. So, and now that's not it. So once you integrate it, we need to let it know when to pop it up. So when to render it. So for it, you have a custom action block. Like you do here, you go to custom action. The name of the custom action is very important. This is the name that that we are referencing here. It should be, as you can see, trace type ext job form. So once the user within your workflow will land into this custom action with this name, it will pop up. So there's could be an action body, JSON, or text. You can actually upload some information to your variable. So for example, this could be pre-filled, right? So with your name that you provided already through the chat, and you would like, it's pretty advanced things, but you would do that with action body. You like ChatGPT can help you out like easily. But then you have the path, which is just the complete path, right? So it's usually just the complete because it's like rendering 100% of the time. So you can do the error just in case. And that's it. Once, as you can remember, we say hi, there's nothing rendered. When we say hi, it goes to this specific step. It says, last step, please fill out the information here. And now the flow comes into the custom action with this form and it's rendering this form, okay? After this, we need the JavaScript, which is again super simple. This is the variable inside the Voiceflow, and this is line payload full name. So like we are saving all the information that the user provide here, even the urgency level, into the variables of the Voiceflow so that you can use it further. And you can use, for example, API requests that you can send it to me and like to the CRM, whatever. So the information that you would capture. And this is it, guys. So like it's not as complex. You would just go to ChatGPT, you would paste this documentation, and what I would actually do, again, you would go to 99 players, get this code. Like this is the embed. So as you can see, this is the full embed. It's like the same thing from here. So this is the full embed, and I will paste this. So you would get the code, you would Control C and Control control V it here, paste it, and say, hey, I need like the same code, but can you do a different form? You can do the styling, say, do it yellow and blue, and like this is my project ID. You need to mention the project ID because this is this. You don't need the API key from the Voiceflow, but you need the project ID, and you find it inside integrations. No, inside in the settings. So you would find it here. Okay, that's it. You provide the reference, you provide the documentation, and you provide the project ID, and it will do the job. Okay. And this is the way how you can like enrich the customer experience. You would ask, hey Gene, okay, why? Like we're not building a form, right? So we are building a conversational experience. We're trying to build like a human. Yes, the thing is that sometimes it's needed when you're trying to get information from the user faster, so that he doesn't like respond with, he doesn't need to answer all these questions. Okay. Another use case is the customer login, which is it's not the common use case, but it's most obvious use case. So what if we want inside the chat, we want to log in the user with the with the username and the password? You can obviously ask, hey, what's your like user, bot can say, what's your like username, it will provide it, will save it to variable, password, same thing. But it's not the right experience to do. You can say just the password, like login and password. So you can render this form. And this is just an example from a previous scenario, like one of the projects that we've been doing. For example, here, as you can see, we are like doing the condition step. We are asking, okay, does the logging, like the variable, exist? So it means that the user already logged in. If no, we'll say, yeah, sure, you need to provide your login. We will render the login form, which is very simple form. I don't want to show it here, but it's like login password. That's it. I think they have it here. Wait, so they should, yeah, see? Name, email, phone number. It's like same thing. So it's like very simple. Yeah, it's very simple, and you're capturing the details. And then once we capture the details, remember, so we capture the password, we are sending an API call to, sorry, we are sending an API call to make scenario. In this scenario, we're like passing login and password, where, for example, in the Airtable, we have login and password fields. We're checking if they both match, and then we're sending the response with like success or not success, and if it's success, we'll log in the user. So this is kind of a really good illustration of how custom actions can be implemented. Obviously, there are more ways you can see, like you can do the custom, toggle. So imagine you can do the calendar, choosing the date, and I think they also have it here. I have the template. See, it's like the date, so you can choose, you can upload the files here. This is a very in-depth thing. I have a separate section of templates inside 99 Players for it's not available for like free inside my free resource hub, but if it's like available here in our Discord. Okay, so this is kind of everything that you need to know about the development tools and the custom actions in Voiceflow. Now let's talk about humanizing agents. It's a very broad topic. I don't want to cover everything in one video. It's going to be like 5 hours, but I already mentioned a lot of things. You need to be good at prompt engineering. You need to set it up correctly. But one of the ways how you can separate yourself from others, and how you can separate your bot from others' bots, is by sending multiple messages within one chat. I have never showed it on the YouTube, but I decided to do that. So never seen anyone talk about it. So imagine like bot respond with not one with not one answer, but like one answer but multiple lines. So for example, you can obviously do it with the messaging. You can say like message 1, and then you can do whatever. So you can do the message to, right? Message to. So it's like, it's nothing, it seems obvious, right? So here you would send, instead of like one message, instead of like chunk everything of if in one response, you would send it to two. But it's not that easy, because imagine if you are generating the response by the AI, and the AI replies with only one message. So it's like replying with a paragraph. It could be structured, it could be whatever in the markdown, whatever. It can do a lot of different things, right? But it cannot respond into two paragraphs. And usually when we chat between each other like humans, we would send, yes, I will think about it. How about this? Like, see, it's conversational experience. And this is a very simple flow. If you want, let me know in the comments and I will do in-depth video about it and all the different functions. But here is how it can be done. So let's say, we'll say hi. It will generate the reply, it will classify the reply, and it will send us one message. How about, can you tell me how you can help? So this is a simple message, that's why it's one message sequence, okay? Now, it will send us two messages, right? So first, and this is specifics, what's your current struggle on Instagram? So these are two separate messages. And you can create an in-depth scenario where it will either send 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 messages, and you can do delays between each and every message, because even here you can add a delay, right? So I, at least, like, GG to you, good game to watch till this part, because I think this is what, like, I've never shared it before and I never saw anyone share it about Voiceflow, but this is how you would actually do that. That's why you would just subscribe to 99 players, $1 access, and you will get the template, right? So you would get the whole template, so you can just copy and paste it to your project. So the AI, this is like whatever. So this is the reply. So we are replying to the user and saving in the utterance, saving the response in the reply. Here we are asking AI to analyze and determine if this message should be sent in one message or in two messages. And here you would say in 3 and 4, whatever. Then you would, and if it's 1, output 1. If it's 2, output 2. Then we are, okay, so if it's 1, it should be sent in one message. Then we're displaying it to the user. But let's say it's 2. It means that we can technically send it in two messages. We do another sub-agent that will actually generate a JSON. Remember message 1, message 2? Remember what I was showing here in the developer tools, like the JavaScript? So we are essentially like chunking down the reply into the JSON into two objects. And then we are like parsing them into we're like splitting them into separate variables, and we're outputting these variables. So it's like pretty straightforward, okay? Yeah, so, and this is how you would do that. This is one of the ways you can, there's a technically like simpler version. You can ask AI here to save the response right away in the JSON with multiple messages. But if you're doing it dynamically, if it's like, if we can sometimes send 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, it might hallucinate. So it's either need to be very big prompt, which will hallucinate anyways. So I would like, this is why I would like suggest you to use this in all of your flows. Okay, now let's talk about the API side of the Voiceflow, and which might scare you a little bit if you're the beginner, but like it's very straightforward. Okay, it's very straightforward. So let's say that we want to access our agent externally, and I already showed you the example from the knowledge base, but we're not accessing it externally. We're accessing the knowledge base internally from the Voiceflow, right? With this API request. But here's an example. This is like working on one project for the client, and this is the menu chat. And obviously, like, this is the connection between ManyChat and Voiceflow. So this is, again, like, you would ask, and I'll share how you can connect it to WhatsApp, Instagram, Messenger through the third-party apps. But this is one of the ways, is to use the ManyChat. And so let's say we need to send an actual, like, the API request to the Voiceflow, to our agent, so that once the user sends something inside Instagram, it lands into the ManyChat, and from ManyChat it goes to the Voiceflow. So you would do this through the Voiceflow documentation. Again, this is the thing that I was showing you, and yeah, let me check. Okay, so let me open the Voiceflow documentation so that you can see how everything done. Voiceflow documentation. While I opening it up, I want to mention a few things. So Voiceflow has, and I forgot to mention this when I was explaining custom actions, Voiceflow has Tico. Tico is their own AI assistant, and you can see how this is, like, it's super advanced. It's super refined. And Tico is like their support agent. And Tico can help you with the code. Can you send me a code for custom actions, please? So, and Tico is trained on all the Voiceflow documentation. I was always, and I'm still, like, training it. I have multiple GPTs that are trained on the Voiceflow documentation myself, but sometimes you can play around with Tico. Just like, it's not, you cannot ask it to respond in a certain way just because there are some limitations, because it's, like, internally on their website. It's not like the custom GPT, but it can help you a lot. So when you land to the Voiceflow, you have kind of documentation, and I will just go over just a few basic things so that you understand how everything works. Okay, so in order to start the chat, so there are two. Again, like, I'm using a simple language, not the technical one, so that you understand. So if you want to talk to your AI agent externally, you first need to start the chat, and then you need to continue the conversation. So the same way here, for example, if we are, where's our start? Okay, let's go above. Okay, let's go here, Knowledgebase, whatever, and let's do the reply. Okay. Let's go above. So start, do you have a question? Respond, custom memory. Okay, so let's actually publish this thing. So in order to start the conversation, you first need to start it, right? And then you need to interact with it. So for example, if you click run, you need to run the task. So this is the start, and this is how you would get this message. In order to do that, you have inside this, you have, like, inside the interact, you have the post API endpoint, and you would actually, here's how it's structured. As you can see, we have the URL of this endpoint, and we would need to header the authorization. So let's get our API key. So we'll go here, we'll get the API key, and we'll post it here. So if we try it, we should receive the response, do you have a question? Okay, which is this. Okay, once we do that, let me remove everything. Once we do that, we have a, like, sorry, I forgot to mention that you need to have a user ID set once you are, like, launching the conversation. And maybe it's easier because you can technically test everything within their documentation page. But let me go to the Postman. So Postman is just the software where you test API requests. So this is how it works. So this is the actual, post request. This is the endpoint. And this is where you provide the unique user ID of the new chat. Let's say we can say 5555. Okay, so it's 4 5s. Authorization, which is like authorization, headers, content type, and the body, which is action type launch. So if we send, it will say, do you have a question, right? So hi, How can I help? Oh, okay. Now, obviously it will not because we have not updated this. Sorry. We have not updated the API key yet. Headers. Okay. Now, do you have a question? So if we continue to, like, we can change it to 5.5s, it will start a new, right? A new conversation. In order to continue the conversation, we would just use the same, like the same endpoint, right? So the same thing with the same user ID. So you first launched it, but now with the body, you would actually do it a bit differently. So where is it? So that I find it. Wait, do I have it here? Oh, okay. So we can go to menu chat and test it out. So here, if we go here and body, so this is how it will look. So this is the request, and here is your actual question, right? How are you? Now it will say, yeah, I'm good, whatever. I'm doing well, thanks for asking. I'm AI to help you today. So we are doing the chat with the same user ID. And inside the chat, it's looping us inside. So we are saving the memory. And if we say things like, my name is Eugene, okay, it will say that, hello, Eugene, it's nice to meet you. Okay, and if we say, what is my name again, it will say that based on the conversation, your name is Eugene. But if we change the user ID, it will not do that because the conversation, it will not even like do this just because the conversation was not started. So if we send it again, first request is anyway, so you should do the launch, but you can technically do it like that. So first request to the new ID was the first message. It launched the conversation, and now it's continuing, and it says that I don't have the name. Okay, this is like a very basic thing. Okay, with interacting with your agent externally, and obviously you have their new streamline interact APIs. You don't need it, so it's like more for in-depth like things. Okay. And you have the Knowledgebase APIs, which is the query. It's the same thing as I was showing you here, right? So this is the query API. We are querying the Knowledgebase, as you can see here, Knowledgebase authorization. And you can play around with this. You can like input your question. What services do you sell? For example, here, and you would literally provide the same. I think I already have it, so let's test it if it's going to work. Based on the reference information provided, boilers, services, gas safety inspections. Okay, so it's like it's giving us an answer. So this is how you would communicate with your agent externally without like needing to go into the Voiceflow. And if you ask me, okay, Eugene, why we might need it? So here's an example. I did this this demo a while back on the YouTube, but for example, I created an interface. It's very simple. It's like super no code on Airtable, where essentially this is like a chat experience where you go like and you ask the question, you submit the information, you can upload the file here, and it will answer it based on the Voiceflow scenario that you have built, and you have like even the custom like the history of the conversation, right? So it's like it's pretty cool, and you can essentially talk to your Voiceflow agent from Airtable. And imagine you can build the same thing in app, and this is how we connected to multiple apps within their like infrastructure through the Voiceflow APIs, and that's why it's really good. It's the top notch on the market when it comes to the connection to the agents externally. Okay, and now the last thing, the third-party apps. So how do we connect to the third-party apps? Sorry, I want to mention again, it's since I already mentioned it, but maybe you skipped it. So I have the 99 players. So this is my bootcamp where you can, get an understanding on how to actually sell these solutions. This is the technical part, this is the sales part. So if you want me to help you to sign your first client, this is the guarantee. That's why there's first $1 access, which is light access. You get access to the template, right, that I'm showing on this video, plus some chat of our Discord, plus the wins, a few offers hours a month that we do for the free members. So all these things. But if you want the full access to the one-on-one support with me, with my team, to the 12-week course that we have on niche service selection offers, cold outreach, paid ads. If you want to have an access to the offers, sorry, what's that? Okay, I ruined this thing. So if you want to have access to the offers library, the collection of sales calls that I have, you need to complete an interview with me. I do not qualify everyone just because I am guaranteeing you the results. So you go here, the second step, you can like choose the time and book the interview and then read the rest. So again, this template will be available for everyone who subscribe on the $1 tier. Okay, so it's pretty clear. Now the last thing, third-party apps. There are, so for example, if you want to connect to the Messenger, Instagram, WhatsApp, there are the apps that can do that. You can technically do it through the Make and through the API request, but for example, the two main ones are Chatdash and Tixai, and they've been called Voiceflow. They rebranded it. So here, for example, you can essentially white label your dashboard for your clients, so that your clients, when you're offering this thing to them, they can feel like it's your own tool. I don't think that you need to fake it. It's just it's not to higher up the prices for your services, but it's more like to give them better experience. And you can like create the new chatbot, right? So you can create the Voiceflow OpenAI. You can create vector shift VAPI, which is the voice AI. So they're like adding new features, and you can create the Voiceflow. You can do the project ID dialog flow API and the chatbot. So this is the bot. This is the demo account that I'm using on the VAPI connector. So you can like do it like that. You would actually add your client, right? And then you would you would assign the client this chatbot. And if you go to the client dashboard, this is how your client would see it. They will see the analytics with the conversation, the things with like all the things that matter, and the conversation, obviously the actual conversations with the people. They can hop on the call. They can hop on the conversation to continue talking with a person. As you can see, it's not available here because this is connected to VAPI. This is a voice AI agent that we're building for a client. But this is how you would do that with the Chatdash. They are pretty clean, pretty robust. I would recommend them if you are looking for a dashboard. Tixai, on another hand, they have a bit more features, so it's like the same thing. So VAPI, you would actually create an agent. You can create an agent internally within Tixai, or you would connect it through here with this whatever. I'm not sure. They're changing the interface every time. Secret agent, it's the voice glow. Anyways, yes, so you can like create the agent internally here. You can create the tools, and you have the conversations, right? So you can go through the conversations. Again, this is the voice AI agent, and you can continue to chat yourself, so you can stop the AI responding to the customer and then like starting the actual conversation yourself and answering. This is a human handoff. You can do the same thing with the Chatdash, just displaying it here. Zendesk, they have, as I mentioned, the native integration with the Voiceflow Knowledgebase, but like we never used it. It's more for example, if you are building a chatbot that requires human transfer to the agent, but the agents are not live available where they can hop on the call with the Chatdash or Tixai, you would actually like send in the email, and you can integrate the Zendesk where, for example, after a certain flow, after the certain step, you would actually end the conversation and you would send the API request to the Zendesk and create a case in the Zendesk. You would need to obviously capture the email before the end of the call, but this is like how you would do that, and it's pretty straightforward. And again, Voiceflow already has a few integrations with the Zendesk, as you can see that will make it easier for you to like understand how it works, so you don't need to build it fully custom. I think I have actually a video on my channel where I explain like human handoff in the details. Okay, so guys, I think this is it. We'll roll this out. This was a comprehensive guide to the Voiceflow and everything that you need to know to build a very advanced agents. So thank you for your interest in the video. See you soon. Peace.